RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. 13.68 sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda, dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sibiyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andam mo serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO Radyo Ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Ang buong sambayan ng Pilipino.
Majority
Thank you,
Leader.
Mr. President. Mr. President, out of my excitement of my speech, I forgot to make the same motion. On the part of the Senate panel, Mr. President, we respectfully recommend to Congress, as the National Board of Canvassers, in joint public session, approving the report of the Joint Committee in Resolution of both Houses, number 1, declaring the results of the national elections held on May 9, 2022 for the office of the President and Vice President, and proclaiming Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos and Inday Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. I so move, Mr. President.
Majority Leader, we would like to
Yes.
entertain a formal motion for the
the
adoption of the resolution.
Yes. Mr. President, we're now ready to proceed to vote for the adoption of the report and the accompanying resolution. On the part of the Senate, I move for the approval of the report of the Joint Committee and the adoption of the accompanying resolutions of both houses. Number 1.
Distinguished members of the Senate, there is a motion by the Majority Leader to approve the report of the Joint Committee and to adopt the accompanying resolution of both houses. Number 1. As many as are in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
As many as are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. On the part of the Senate, the report of the Joint Committee is approved and the resolution of both houses of number 1 is adopted.
The Majority Leader of the House of Representatives is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, we now proceed to vote for the adoption of the report and the accompanying resolution. On the part of the House of Representatives, I move for the approval of the report of the Joint Committee and the adoption of the accompanying resolution of both houses. Number 1.
Distinguished members of the House of Representatives, there is a motion by the Majority Leader to approve the report of the Joint Committee and to adopt the accompanying resolution of both houses. Number 1. As many as are in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye!
As many as are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. On the part of the House of Representatives, the report of the Joint Committee is approved and resolution of both houses number 1 is adopted.
The Majority Leader of the Senate is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On the part of the Senate, pursuant to the adopted resolution of both houses, number 1, I have the honor to move for the proclamation of the
Duly elected.
duly elected
President.
President of the Republic of the Philippines and the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. It was in a blank. It was
Yeah.
blank, Mr. President. I wanted to make sure that one was not ahead of the other. So I was
Right.
worried about that blank.
I have it.
Thank you, Mr.
Is
President.
there any objection? The chair hears none. On the part of the Senate, I proclaim Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines. And Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
The Majority Leader of the House of Representatives is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives and pursuant to the adopted resolution of both houses, number 1, I have the honor to move for the proclamation of Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines and Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. On the part of the House of Representatives, I proclaim Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines and Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
We shall now proceed to the approval of the Journal of the Joint Public Session, and for this purpose, the Senate Majority Leader is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On the part of the Senate, I move that the Honorable Senate President be authorized to approve the Journal of the Joint Public Session and that such approval shall be considered as the action of the Senate of the Philippines.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
The Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move that the Honorable Speaker be authorized to approve the Journal of the Joint Public Session and such approval be considered as the action of the House of Representatives.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
The Senate Secretary is now directed to turn over the consolidation and canvassing system, the machine, and return all the ballot boxes as well as all the pouches containing the certificates of canvass and election returns to the Commission on Elections. So directed.
President, on the
Majority
part of the
Leader.
Senate, I move that we designate the members of the Senate panel for the Joint Committee as members of the Notification Committee.
If there is no objection, the Chair appoints the members or designates the members of the Senate panel of the Joint Committee as designated members of the Notification Committee.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move to designate the members of the House panel of the Joint Committee as members of the Notification Committee.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The members of the House panel of the Joint Committee are designated as members of the Notification Committee.
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead, Majority Leader.
on the part of the Senate, I move to suspend the joint public session to notify the duly elected President and Vice President of the proclamation and invite them to the rostrum.
Is there no objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. On the part of the Senate, the joint public session is suspended.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move to suspend the joint public session to notify the duly elected President and Vice President of their proclamation and invite them to the rostrum.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint public session is suspended.
Seen the official proclamation of President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. That was Congress convening as the National Board of Canvassers in a joint public session, making the proclamation. They suspended the session for a few minutes to wait for both officials to go inside the plenary hall for the usual action where we see the official proclamation, where we see the Senate President and the House Speaker raising the hands of the winning the winning candidates. The proclamation was, of course, contained in a joint committee report approved and in a joint resolution adopted by both houses of Congress in a joint public session. Thank you for watching our coverage. Newsnight is up next. I'm Ruth Kabat. Good evening.
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. 1368 sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda, dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sibiyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andam mo serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO Radyo Ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. 1368 sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda, dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sibiyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andam mo serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO Radyo Ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Breaking news here on CNN Philippines. The Joint Canvassing Committee completes the canvassing of votes for President and Vice President. Our chief anchor correspondent, Pia Ontiveros, is at the Batasang Pambansa. Pia, what can you tell us?
Presidential candidates in the May 9, 2022 elections Hi, Ruth. Just under a minute ago, both Senator Mig Zubiri and Congressman Martin Romualdez announcing that the canvassing has been terminated, that the Joint Canvassing Committee has completed the canvass of the certificates of canvass of the votes for President and Vice President in the May 9, 2022 elections. Let's listen in first.
In the May 9, 2022 elections and the accompanying resolution of both houses for consideration and approval of the Joint Committee. On the part of the House, the Joint Committee is suspended to await the draft committee report.
So just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we still have, once the committee report is done, we have to reconvene the committee for the approval of all our members. The committee report, and then we go on joint session. Just a reminder for our colleagues. For the meantime, we are suspended.
All right, Ruth. So you heard that, no? So first, about 2 minutes ago, there was that announcement from Mig Zubiri and Martin Romualdez that the Joint Canvassing Committee has completed the canvass of 173 certificates of canvass, representing about 55.5 million votes. The canvass was of the presidential and the vice presidential race. Now, sandali lang, Ruth, ha? Okay. Now, what's going to happen next is that the Joint Canvassing Committee, remember, the Joint Canvassing Committee is made up of a Senate and a House contingent. There's 7 members each. They're going to be drafting a committee report, and then the Joint Canvassing Committee will reconvene to approve that draft committee report. After that, the joint session of Congress, sitting as the National Board of Canvassers, will reconvene so that they can approve this committee report. That is the process now, and there will be a declaration of the results of the elections held on May 9 for the offices of the President and Vice President, and they will proclaim the duly elected President and VP of the Republic of the Philippines. There will be a resolution from both houses of Congress to that effect. Now, when they do that, shortly after that, Mig Zubiri will deliver a sponsorship speech, so will Martin Romualdez. He will also deliver a sponsorship speech, and then they will, the entire body, both the Senate and the House, will approve the Joint Committee report and adopt the resolution of both houses. And then that's when we move into the proclamation, the proclamation proper of the duly elected President and VP. At that point, when Bongbong Marcos's hands are raised by Mig Zubiri and Martin Romualdez, he will become President-elect of the Republic of the Philippines. He's going to be the 17th President of the Republic of the Philippines. When that happens, there will be, of course, an approval of the journal of the joint public session, and then the ballot boxes will be returned, and the turnover of the consolidation and canvassing system machine to the COMELEC, and then the joint public session will be adjourned. Siyempre, merong mga seremonyas ng ganito because after all, this is the legislature, this is Congress, both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now we're getting word that BBM has arrived in the area, and we do have some video. We're going to show that to you right now. Bongbong Marcos, like we said, is going to be the 17th President of the Republic of the Philippines. He will be called, the minute he is proclaimed here in Congress this afternoon, he will be called President-elect. It is now 3:38 p.m. here in the session hall. The clock show it is 3:38 p.m. Yesterday, Mig Zubiri was saying that they hope to proclaim him by 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that is exactly what is happening. Let's do a little bit of review. How did this happen? How was this made possible? Let's not forget what happened yesterday. Romy Macalintalo, we call him Romy Mac, lead counsel for VP Leni Robredo, saying that they will interpose no objections to any of the COCs and that they will no longer need to appear before the Joint Canvassing Committee. Napakalaking bagay yon because in past elections, even in automated elections, siyempre lahat ng kandidato may mga kanya-kanya mga abogado at kinatawan. At siyempre, every now and then may mga objections sila. But because nagsabi si Romy Mac na hindi na sila mag-pose ng kahit anong objection sa kahit anong COC, napabilis na talaga ang proseso. We have to remember that usually, even in an automated election system, that this canvassing could last from anywhere between 3 to 5 days. 5 days, medyo stretch na yan, ano? But we were thinking that this would last until Thursday at the very least, or even Friday. But this is historic. Well, of course, the other factor for why this is made possible is because of the automated election system. Notwithstanding, yes, been many the vote counting machines. However, I remember I asked Mig Zubiri about that yesterday during my interview with him, and he said definitely the Senate will look into these
Ferdinand, in 2 days. Ngayong araw na ito, Congress bears witness to the unity of our country. A true partnership between the North and the South that has become the unity of all corners of the country. In previous elections, Filipinos voted for President and Vice President from different parties. Finally, this year, we will learn the importance of voting for a tandem, a uni-team that can work together, a uni-team that can collaborate with each other, and a uni-team that can push for a shared national agenda. The people have spoken decisively. This is not just your sweeping electoral victory. This is an overwhelming victory for all Filipinos. This is a victory of our democracy. The gracious acts extended by the camps of other candidates yesterday, which greatly facilitated our proceedings, show the best of what Filipinos can be, even in the most divisive of elections. Nakikita po natin ngayon ang tunay na lakas sa pagkakaisa at pagsasanib puwersa. We need a catalyst, and there is no better example than the unifying force that we have seen and we will see in a government led by President BBM and VP Inday Sara. The Philippines looks forward to your leadership. It is my great honor and privilege to congratulate you both today. Mabuhay po kayo. Secretary General.
Ladies and gentlemen of the 18th Congress, Honorable Sara Zimmerman Duterte, the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
May we request the duly elected Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio to proceed to the rostrum.
May we also request the family of the duly elected Vice President Inday Sara Duterte to accompany her to the rostrum, please.
there you have it. Vice President-elect Sara Duterte is now, her arms were raised by Senate President Tito Soto and House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco.
Ladies and gentlemen of the 18th Congress, Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines.
May we request the duly elected President, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., to proceed to the rostrum.
May we also request the family of the duly elected President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. to accompany him to the rostrum.
And now going up the rostrum is the President-elect, Bongbong Marcos, together with his wife, the soon-to-be First Lady, Lisa Araneta Marcos. He's now being congratulated by Senate President Tito Soto and by House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Also accompanying the President-elect on the rostrum are his siblings, Senator Amy Marcos and Irene Marcos Araneta. The President-elect is also accompanied by one of his sons on the rostrum. And as mentioned earlier, now we're seeing the former First Lady, Imelda Romualdez Marcos, walking up the steps to accompany her son as he is officially proclaimed President-elect of the Republic of the Philippines, the 17th President of the Republic. He is now being handed the certificate as he is officially now the President-elect of the country. He will have his inauguration on the 30th of June. Martin Romualdez, who is a first cousin of the President-elect, is also on stage together with Irene, Senator Amy Marcos, his wife Lisa Araneta Marcos, and the former First Lady Imelda Marcos, who is now 92 years old. Still looking very well. His arms have been raised by the Senate President and the outgoing House Speaker. Pia? Pia, you're on the House floor.
Yes, Rico.
What is the mood? What is the mood right now on the House floor with President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte now being officially proclaimed as winners of the May 9th elections?
Yeah. Oh. We're here. We're in the second gallery, Rico, and we have a lot of. There are plenty in the audience, supporters of President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. They broke out into BBM chants as Bongbong went up the rostrum para mataas ang kamay niya ng Senate President Tito Sotto at the House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. You saw Imelda, former First Lady, his mother, 92-year-old mother, struggling to get up to the rostrum to see her son being proclaimed by this joint session of Congress. Accompanied also, BBM was accompanied also by his sister, Senator Amy Marcos and Irene Marcos Araneta, and his family, his wife, Liza Araneta Marcos, and one of their sons. If I'm not mistaken, that was Vinny. Was it Vinny or Simon? But anyway, we're going to have to allow this joint session of Congress to close. Huh? So let's go back to the floor.
Therefore, Mr. President, on the part of the Senate, I move that we adjourn this historic joint public session.
On the part of the Senate, this joint public session is hereby adjourned.
Majority Leader of the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House, I move to join the joint session.
On the part of the House of Representatives, this historic joint public session is adjourned.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Joint public session has been adjourned. There you see on the rostrum the outgoing Senate President, Tito Sotto, and the outgoing House Speaker, Lord Alan Velasco. We saw very close family relatives together with the President-elect, Bongbong Marcos, on the rostrum. But when Vice President-elect Sara Duterte went up on the rostrum, she was on her own, without any family members, Pia.
Yes, that's right. Sarah had flown in from Iloilo, and we were told that her husband and her children, or even her brothers, Baste and Paolo, would not be able to join her. So, this is this concludes this. Actually, hindi 2 days canvassing, less than 2 days. And as a matter of fact, the actual canvassing, yung pagbubukas, pagtali ng COC, nag-umpisa kahapon 2:30 ng hapon. And it ended at around 3:30 this afternoon. So a little over 25-hour canvassing. This has never happened before, and that's because of the automated election system, the fact that Romy Macalintal, as lead counsel of VP Lenny, and lawyers of Isko Moreno manifested that they would no longer interpose any objections. And also the fact that napakalaki ng lamang ni BBM sa pumangalawa sa kanya, si VP Lenny Robredo. Just to repeat, 31.6 million votes. That is 57% of the vote. That has never happened before. Sara has 32.2 million. Is 61.53% of the total votes. So what we saw here today is the Senate and the House of Representatives exercising its constitutional mandate to canvass the votes for President and Vice President and to declare the winners. In this case, the winners, of course, are Bongbong Marcos as President-elect. That's what we can call him now that he has been proclaimed, and Sara Duterte as Vice President-elect. Because she has been proclaimed, she now is VP-elect. On June 30, that is when the inaugural takes place. That is when BBM becomes the 17th President of the Republic of the Philippines. Of course, there's a long story behind this campaign, a very, very bitter, very highly emotional campaign on all sides. As a matter of fact, maraming mga supporters ng ibang kandidato na hindi matanggap yung resulta ng halalan because we all knew what the result was late in the evening of Monday of election day. But now it has come to this. BBM is going to be the 17th President of the Republic of the Philippines. Of course, it's a very unusual sight to have his mother come back here and his sisters come back here. By the way, everybody knows this Batasang Pambansa. This was built in 1978 by his mother, Imelda, to house the interim Batasang Pambansa, the parliament that her late husband, former President Ferdinand Marcos, the father of this next president, his parliament. And this is some sort of a, I guess this is what, the comeback of all comebacks? Can you imagine, after having been deposed from power and flown out of the country into exile for a few years, the family is back, and back now in a very big way. Of course, earlier, Aimee ran for Congress, for governor of Ilocos Norte, senator, BBM himself, senator, governor, congressman. But this is the comeback. Imagine, he was president now, again, 36 years after his father was deposed. So there's a lot of history that's going on here and had gone on here. A lot of people have pointed out that his campaign theme of unity should find meaning in what happens from now on. Hold on, let's see.
Pia, of
Oh,
course.
Sarah's here.
Pia, of course, what is also important now that he has been proclaimed as president-elect and Sara Duterte is now the vice president-elect, the hard work now begins, fixing our troubled economy, tackling rising poverty, strengthening healthcare, dealing with
Malapit na
inflation.
Si Sarah dito. Yes, Rico?
Yes, Pia.
Yeah, sandali lang. Mayor Sarah, hi. Can we get you, just on CNN Philippines, the cameras are here. Just a little statement. Just a little statement lang.
Opo, nagpapasalamat po ako sa lahat sa tulong at suporta. Thank you!
Si VP-elect Sara Duterte just saying nagpapasalamat lang daw siya, trying to keep it short. There's a little bit of a ruckus on the floor. Of course, you have all these centers, a majority of the centers, a majority of congressmen, and the supporters of BBM, family, friends, relatives, very excited about this proclamation. Rico?
Yes, of course. You spoke to her, you asked her for a statement, she thanked the people, and now she is the Vice President-elect, Pia, and she will also be assuming the Department of Education portfolio, Sara Duterte. And of course, the hard work now begins, Pia, no? Now that we have a President-elect and a Vice President-elect, they have to turn around this economy. We have some major problems that have to be tackled, including rising poverty, strengthening healthcare, dealing with inflation, managing this humongous debt that is on the weight of Filipinos' shoulders, close to 13 trillion pesos. And everyone is saying that when the Duterte administration ends, ends on June 30th, it will be close to 13.5 trillion. So this is something that has to be addressed by the new president and vice president of the country. You have a lot of problems that they have to resolve, creating jobs, turning around this economy amidst the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, a lot of question marks as well, how the president-elect and vice president-elect will be running the country. So far, we've had some appointments to their cabinet, not a whole lot of them, over the past couple of weeks. You have the Department of Justice Secretary, Boying Remulla. You have the Executive Secretary, Vic Rodriguez. You have the DOLE Chief, Bienvenido Benny Laguesma, who was previously as well Labor Secretary in a previous administration. You have the Migrant Workers Chief, Susan Tuts Ople. And you have the Press Secretary, Trixie Cruz Angeles. And one major appointment has been given for the economic team of President-elect Bongbong Marcos, and that is Arsenio Balisacan. Everyone is awaiting who will be the next Finance Secretary, the Budget Secretary, so on and so forth, because a lot of international investors are indeed awaiting for the names that will make up Marcos Jr.'s economic team. They say that these names are important. They need to be credible, especially to the global financial community. PR, are you still there? What else is happening on the floor of the House?
Hi, Rico, hi, sorry. We're out here. I'm out here sa lobby. I'm just trying to make
You're
my
running
way
around, Pia.
so that we can try and get. Sorry.
Okay, our signal to Pia Ontiveros, who is in and out of the House floor. He's okay. Currently, she is trying to look for some of the personalities involved in this proclamation, and Vic Rodriguez, who is the incoming executive secretary, is about to give a statement. Let's listen in.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sir, what's the plan for PCG's cabinet, sir? Sir, what's the plan for
Many times as well. And I know you were listening that he will even, in fact, strengthen it if the condition would warrant, meaning law permitting. We have to review its how to further strengthen it as an anti-corruption instrument or
Kasi
tool.
kung expanding it, meron ng ombudsman, sir. So, paano po yun?
So there was a question there from the media how the new president-elect will handle the Presidential Commission on Good Government. As we all know, the PCGG was formed in 1986 by the Aquino administration under then late President Corazon Aquino to retrieve billions of dollars of assets during the tenure of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the father of the president-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So that was a quick statement from the incoming executive secretary and who is still the spokesman of President-elect Bongbong Marcos, Vic Rodriguez. Okay, now let's cross over again back to the House. There is an interview, maybe a quick statement from the President-elect, Bongbong Marcos. Let's listen in.
How are you feeling right now?
Humbled. I am humbled because for anyone in public service or in a public life, the most valuable thing you may receive from a fellow citizen is their vote. Because embedded in that vote are their hopes and their aspirations for the future. But also embedded in that vote are the trust and the confidence that they give to you to take them to that aspirational future. And that is why to have received over 31 million votes from our countrymen is as valuable a expression of trust as can be had by anyone in public life. And so for that, I thank our people. And beyond that, I promise you that we may not be perfect, but we will always strive to perfection. Thank you very much. I congratulate all of those involved in the electoral process, the COMELEC, all our teachers, our BEIs, up to the National Board of Canvass here in Congress, for what I can say is, in my experience, the best run election that we have seen, and that it has reflected truly the voice of the people and the choice of the people. So I am inspired by this responsibility that has been given me. So I ask you all, pray for me, wish me well. I want to do well, because when a president does well, the country does well. And I want to do well for this country. Thank you very much.
Congratulations for what you're doing. Sir, a few
There we heard a short statement from President-elect Bongbong Marcos. He thanked the people, the over 31 million people who voted for him. He asked the people to pray for him that he will do well for the country. He also thanked the COMELEC and the National Board of Canvassers and the teachers who were all part of this electoral process on May 9th. He said that he was humbled by this victory, and he said that embedded in the vote that he received is the hope and trust and confidence of the Filipino people. And he hopes that he will do well as president of the Republic, and he hopes and promised, though he is not perfect, will always strive for perfection. And that was some nuggets of hope from the president-elect, who will be inaugurated on June the 30th as the 17th President of the Republic of the Philippines. And he also referred to the high voter turnout, which is at 82%. And that translates to over 55 million votes compared to the overall number of voter registrants of 65 million. And it is the first time that an elected majority president and vice president, a tandem, have been voted into office. Because in the previous elections, there's always been a different president and vice president. That, of course, in 1986, when you had President Corazon Aquino and Vice President Salvador Laurel, a tandem that took over the administration that was deposed by the People Power Revolution under the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr. So right now we're seeing pictures from the house of from the floor of the lower house. It's starting to thin out as the proclamations have been made this evening of Vice President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. And as we know, top diplomats have already met with the President-elect, the Japanese Ambassador Kazuhiko Koshikawa, the South Korean Ambassador Kim In-chul, the Indian Ambassador Shambhu Kumaran, and the United States Charge of the Affair Heather Variava, all meeting with the President-elect over the past week, giving him congratulatory messages from their respective governments. And of course, we've all the President-elect has also had congratulatory messages and has spoken to some of the global leaders like U.S. President Joe Biden. You have Chinese President Xi Jinping, the outgoing Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida, and Russian President Vladimir Putin, and leaders from the European Union. So it is official. We have President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. Well, in just less than 2 days, the Senate and the House of Representatives, sitting as the National Board of Canvassers, finished the canvassing of the votes. Well, this is considered as the fastest and a milestone for the Philippine Congress. And based on the official website for the canvass, as of 5 this afternoon, which is now flashed on your screens, Bongbong Marcos had over 31.6 million votes. That's more than double the numbers of
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXPO. 13.68 sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda, dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sibiyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andam na serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO Radyo Ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Deciding to conceive is often a big decision, and with recent advances in modern medicine allowing more women to have control over their pregnancies, it has become even more important to know what can affect the success of a desired pregnancy and what you can do to prepare. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and we bring you the knowledge and care you need, especially in this time of COVID-19. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Following the onset of the pandemic, births in the Philippines have dropped to some of the lowest in decades. As we continue to live with this pandemic, it's vital to be prepared when planning to conceive safely. Let's welcome Dr. Maria Lourdes Cablik, who is an OB gynecologist, fertility specialist, and medical director of In Vitro Fertilization Davao and Brokenshire Hospital. Also with us is Dr. Romeo Lloyd Romero. He's a urologist at Casimiro Inares Senior Memorial Hospital. Dr. Des, what is the most important factor when it comes to conceiving, when it comes to fertility?
Age is the most important single factor affecting fertility. Age at around late teens and early 20s has the highest fertility potential for women. After that, at the age of 30s and beyond, their fertility potential decreases, such that the younger the mom, the healthier the outcome.
Dr. Rome, pagdating naman sa lalaki, meron bang pinaka-important factor pagdating sa fertility?
For males, no, there are a lot of factors, but the most important is, of course, the quality of the sperm. So in cases that there's a desired pregnancy for the couple, the sperm should be adequate and there's no blockade of sperm. So it's important for the males to have quality and adequate sperm production for him to conceive.
Some factors that can reduce your fertility are things that you can control actually. So Dr. Des, I'd like to ask, aside from age, na talagang hindi ito modifiable, what are some of the other factors that can affect the fertility of a woman?
With ovulation, it is important to note that the regularity of the cycle, then commonly you ovulate, you're fertile most of the time. And with the ovulation, timing of sex, okay? You may ovulate, but you don't have sex, so you won't have pregnancy. And another important factor is the body weight. Okay, so that boils down to lifestyle. So as you keep your weight close to your ideal for your body, then we assume and presume that you have a regular ovulation.
Now, in the country, more and more women are getting pregnant in their 30s. Some may even delay parenthood until age 35 or even older. Dr. Lourdes, mostly this is the case because a lot more women are career-driven. They establish the careers first before that of a family. Is this something that women nowadays should take heed on? What is your advice on this?
The common reason for this is the uncertainty or not having a partner, followed by the wish to establish financial security, and that would mean they have to give way to their career and then before having a kids. No, these women are unaware of the age and relation to fertility. So there goes also that the risk also that goes with pregnancy around this age. If you are at age 25, the risk is 1 in 1,250. But if you are at age 40, complications of pregnancy is as high as 1 in 100 women. And speaking of complications, we're referring to hypertension, miscarriage, birth defects, diabetes. So these are the common and also difficult labor.
Now, it's important to remember that while these risks are likelier after 35, maybe 40 years old, this does not mean that all women are affected. Still, certain genetic risks are more evident as women age. Dr. Des, let's talk about this a little bit more. What are some of the genetic risks naman for infertility?
As your age advances, chromosomal anomaly. That is why there is a higher abortion rate when the woman has an advancing age. And this is particularly due to the chromosomal anomaly that goes with ages.
Dr. Des, when it comes to infertility here in our country, para dun sa mga hindi makaka-afford, they find themselves wanting to have a baby, what are the options for them?
Nowadays, they really make the effort to go to the centers or approach doctors regarding the condition. So the very simple step to help this infertile or subfertile couple is just semen analysis. Okay, so that's very accessible, cheap examination. So with that, you can rule out if the male has a problem.
Is this true? Can someone determine kung sino ang may problema, kumbaga? Or is a viable, distinct test really needed to determine which among the couple needs that?
For you to know that you are infertile, first of all, we tag a couple infertile if they are unable to conceive for 1 year. And we also, for some patients who already have a family, either the mother or the father who already had a child but was unable or having difficulty to conceive after a year, that is called secondary infertility. So you wouldn't know until you get somebody pregnant.
Age could affect a woman's fertility, but men may also be the reason for a couple's inability to start a family. Now, more on this when we return. With Connection to Healthcare, you're watching Med Talk Health Talk. Infertility may result from an issue with either partner or a combination of factors that prevent the pregnancy. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching Med Talk Health Talk. We're together in health. The main symptom of infertility is the inability to get pregnant. There might be no other obvious symptoms. Sometimes women may have absent or irregular menstrual periods. In other cases, men with infertility may have some hormonal problems. Infertility can affect one or both partners. Dr. Rome, let's first talk about the causes for male infertility.
The cause of male infertility is basically sometimes a low sperm production or no sperm production, abnormal sperm function, and the blockade of sperm that goes through the urethra to the cervical os of the female. So that is the cause of male infertility.
Ano yung mga common causes ng abnormal sperm production?
One is varicocele, like I mentioned earlier, radiation in some patients who are radiated due to cancer or anything else. And also more common, infections, ejaculatory issues in patients who had previous surgeries. They can have retrograde ejaculation or obstruction, and also some antibodies that attack against sperm, some tumors, chromosomal abnormalities, patients who have hormonal imbalance, taking medications like anabolic steroid use, and in some males who has a bad lifestyle like smoking, drug and alcohol use, and also in some patients who have uncontrolled weight. So those are the things that could cause abnormal sperm production.
Those who use a bicycle to and from to commute work, are they at risk of male infertility? How about those who say that tight undergarments, the issue between boxers or briefs, are these relevant factors when it comes to the health of the sperm of a male?
Yes, that is correct, because exposure to high heat could also lead to abnormal spermatogenesis in the testes. So these are also valid factors. No, the temperature in the testes should be optimal for sperm production. So this is very valid. So also one of the risk factors for having infertility, aside from the age, aside from comorbid conditions, extremes of weight.
Is this something that happens often? What do parents of children na nagkaroon ng beke, what should they watch out for?
This could be a viral infection, and the patient will have orchitis. So some studies would also say that there is atrophy of the testes in some cases when there's a history of mumps. So, like what I said earlier, you wouldn't know unless you try or you get somebody pregnant. So, it's a risk factor, like I said, infection. So, mumps or viral infection in the testis.
Now, pag-usapan naman natin ang female infertility. Dr. Des, yung mga more common causes ng female infertility here in the Philippines.
For women, we have the uterine factors, okay? So that would mean myoma, especially if the myoma causes bleeding. And then you have this tubal factor. So meaning this tubal, we refer to the fallopian tube that connects the uterus to the ovary which is where the egg is coming from. And thirdly is the egg production, ovulation. So these are the three most common.
Family planning is the information, means, and methods that allow couples or individuals to decide if and when they want to have children. Dr. Des, what are some of the benefits ng family planning?
The time frame for this is around 2 to 3 years, especially if the mom delivered normally, that is vaginally, so she can have a pregnancy after 2 years. But if it would be cesarean section, you can delay it longer, so around 3 years, the earliest. And also, having family planning, this would enable the mom to have an ample time to provide undivided care to the baby, to the husband, and to herself.
One of the more common family planning methods is that of the rhythm method, both for the female, they use it as time. How effective is this? And when it comes to contraceptions for males, are there any other options aside from using a condom?
As a urologist, a short answer that we offer is vasectomy. So for vasectomy, family planning is called family planning because a couple should decide, not only the females. So vasectomy gives the males options or can be offered options to start with family planning, with cutting the vas deferens.
Sa isang lalaki, kapag naputol ang kanyang vas deferens, nawawala ba ang pagkalalaki niya? Nawawala ba ang kanyang testosterone sa katawan?
It's not demasculinating. So we only cut the cord that transmits the sperms to the penis. But totally, we are not cutting any circulation of the hormones with which most of the males are concerned of. So they think that there will be shortage of male hormones when you do vasectomy. But it's totally not affected.
Now, Dr. Des, pagdating naman sa female contraceptions, what are the safest options available here in the Philippines?
Modern family planning promotes the use of the hormonal, which is the highly accessible, affordable, is the use of oral contraceptive pill. So unlike before, you can just go to the health center, you ask for it, then it is given to you. But recently, you have to buy it. So if you don't want to have this medication taken every day, then you can have the option of going to injectable. So you have your Depo-Provera there. So that is given once in every 3 months, and it is also cheap at cost of 150 per vial, and that will give you a protection for at least a quarter. Then you can have this sterilization, so the female counterpart of vasectomy. So this is highly offered in women who had a cesarean section. And then in the repeated delivery through cesarean section, then you can discuss this with your obstetrician. Then during delivery, then the obstetrician will perform the sterilization.
When we return, we'll talk about the treatment options for infertility and much more. Your health is our mission. This is MedTalk Health Talk. Many people are maybe unaware of their infertility problems. They may cause no symptoms and can go undetected during medical visits, and treating infertility can be complicated. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk, where your care comes first. Infertility is often defined as not conceiving after 12 months of regular intercourse without the use of birth control. How often should the couple be trying?
So the idea is to know when is the ovulation date. Some would say to have intercourse during those times. No? So in some cases, I tell my patient to do it every 2 to 3 days. So it wouldn't be difficult to be doing it every day. So that of getting pregnant. So during those ovulation dates. So nowadays, there are apps that they can download that I tell my patient, especially for the female, they just have to log in the menstruation dates and it would predict their ovulation date. So nowadays, it's very easy to predict when they are fertile.
Is this a factor when it comes to infertility? Meaning, if someone has a problem such as erectile dysfunction, does this affect the quality of their sperm, or is this totally independent?
It's solely independent, but it is also valid to be asked. So in some patients, you have when the erection is treated, they will be able to conceive.
Dr. Des, I'd like to talk about naman the available options para sa mga couples who are trying to have a baby, who are trying to conceive. 1 year na ang nakalipas without success of having a baby. What are their options now?
If there is a problem for the male, then one can have the intrauterine insemination. So the sperm now will be inserted or injected in woman's uterine cavity around the time of ovulation. Okay, so that is one option. But remember, this can only be repeated around 3 to 6 attempts, provided that the injected sperm has reached around 11 to 14 million. So that is where the quantity of the sperm matters. But if ever the quality of the sperm is low, what we mean by low is that less than 5 million, that's an outright indication for assisted reproductive technology, or what you call in vitro fertilization with intracytoplasmic sperm injection.
When it comes to trying to increase the amount of sperm, Dr. Rome, meron bang mga ways, natural ways, to increase someone's sperm count?
So we have to know the cause of the sperm, why it's low, why it is absent. So in some cases, we may give medications to correct the hormones, or in some cases, just to give you an answer on how to have a healthy sperm. So of course, a healthy lifestyle like balanced diet, somebody is overweight or obese, to exercise or to lower the weight, to control the cholesterol. Because basically, those things are the ones that alter the hormonal imbalance in a patient. So to improve the sperm count, you have to also live a healthy lifestyle. So avoid smoking, avoid drinking. If you're using drugs, it's also good to avoid it. No, so also the use of anabolic steroids, again, you can avoid those things, no, to improve your sperm count. But basically, it is always problem-based, goal-oriented. So you have to look for the cause of the imbalance.
Dr. Des, can you discuss some other options for having a family, creating a family?
Okay, so the options that we usually recommend today, of course, we have to deal with what will deliver. So with that, we always promote in vitro fertilization after several failed attempts of trying the conventional manner. So if ever a lot of couple cannot afford this intervention, then we would offer quite invasive, and that would be your minimally invasive surgery to overcome the anatomical problem that would help achieve pregnancy.
With that, I'd like to thank obstetrician, gynecologist, fertility specialist Dr. Maria Lourdes Cabling and urologist Dr. Romeo Lloyd Romero. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time.